I'm Jim Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from our home away from home, the Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about that later, but we hope you'll come out and visit. We have a lot going on later in the show. The Roundtable Gang will be here getting into all sorts of controversies. And we'll also have a serious discussion about the importance of getting a second opinion if you are diagnosed with cancer. All that and much more. But first, we start out on a really happy note talking about a big event that's coming up, a virtual one. I want to find out myself how this is going to work. But we have two special guests that know all about this. On my immediate right, Sherry Thomas, Chief of Human Resources and Organizational Development Officer for Truliant Federal Credit Union. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And sort of social distance behind us is our good buddy Reginald McCaskill, who's President and CEO of Maximum Enterprises, but he also wears another hat of running this big event that we're going to talk about.
Right.
All right, Sherry, let me start with you. Well, when businesses have meetings and they talk about, let's do this in the community, or the community means that, everybody has a different interpretation. Very quickly to get it started, what does community mean to Truliant?
Community is very important to Truliant, so much so that it is actually one of our core values that our employees pledge to uphold each day as we are serving our members and improving their lives. And it extends into the communities that we are a part of, and that we want to be good neighbors, and we have a huge corporate social responsibility to making sure that we give back to the communities where our members live.
How are you making a difference?
Well, we do several things through our community engagement team to help give back. We give back in the way of charitable donations.
Right.
We also, one of the more popular programs is our community mini grant program, where we partner with local nonprofits to help them with operating expenses and programming needs. We have financial education grants that we help teachers with, scholarships for rising college students.
Gosh, you're doing a whole lot.
I know.
Didn't you and Todd Hall tell me one time too? I know you don't like to brag about yourself. But don't you even give time off to employees so they can volunteer? Or
Yes, and that's actually one thing that we're really proud of. Over the last couple of years, we actually increased the number of hours that we allow employees to give back to charities that they feel passionate about and where they'd like to spend their time.
I'm going to circle back to Sherry in a little bit, but I want to go to Reginald for just a second, because I've heard about this Triad Minority and Women's Business Expo. And just in brief, what is it?
Okay, the Triad Minority and Women's Business Expo is an opportunity for minority businesses throughout the entire Triad, which for us consists of Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and High Point, the opportunity for them to showcase their products and their talents and gifts.
Well, now, but didn't you tell me in an email that unlike the previous years, and there have been, 6 previous years?
Right, 6 previous years.
This one, because of the whole pandemic thing, is virtual. Now, help me out on this, Reginald. How is that going to work?
It's going to be fantastic. Believe it or not, we just opened up our registration probably a week ago, and right now we have over 75 businesses that have already registered for over 75 for a virtual expo. And we're really excited about that opportunity, and the platform that we're going to be using is really extraordinary. So we're really excited about it.
Wow. How can I get involved in that? You said people are already signing up. I mean, is there a website?
Right. There is a website. It's called the Triad Minority Business Expo.com.
Well, just so people won't think I'm trying to shortchange this, let me just mention, in case we can get this up on screen, the Minority and Women's Business Virtual Expo is on Saturday, August 29th. I didn't mention that. And then, of course, as Reginald said, TriadMinorityBusinessExpo.com is the website that you can check out. And while we're talking about websites, I don't want to forget to mention that our good friends Sherry and Todd and everybody at Truliant have their website as well that you can check out, TruliantFCU.org. Reginald, what does it mean to have folks like Sherry and Truliant involved in and supporting this expo?
It actually validates the whole experience for the community, to let them know not only are they placed in the community, but they're also serving and giving back. And Truliant has been a corporate sponsor for this expo since its inception, and we're really excited about their partnership and their continued partnership with the Triad Minority and Women's Business Expo.
And of course, we have Black Business Month coming up, and I'm going to give you the final word. We have about 15 seconds left. What does all this mean to you? Why are you proud of what's going on?
Well, we're glad to be a partner with an event at this magnitude that celebrates and recognizes minority businesses and what they do for the community and the services that they provide.
Well, and as I mentioned, the websites are up on screen, TriadMinorityBusinessExpo.com and TruliantFCU.org. And Reginald may not know, but but Sherry and True Lion have been a sponsor since we went on the air with Triad Today 18 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Good folks.
Great.
Good folks.
They are.
So I vote with you. And there you go. All right, to Sherry and to Reginald, thanks for all y'all do.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Tried today, and I'm so glad we can have this lady stop by, a good friend of mine and a good friend of the show who, from time to time, we can get her over here to talk about hospice, which is a very important topic, and she and her team do a great job at Mountain Valley. Next to me, of course, I'm talking about Sheila Jones, who's Director of Marketing and Public Relations for Mountain Valley Hospice and Palliative Care. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
As always, because you never know, people come in and out of the area, they don't catch a particular show or something, so we're going to, people say, you know, you always ask Sheila the same opening question, and I do it because you can't educate people enough about hospice.
Agreed.
And we've had personal experience with that, and you know that. So the opening question is always, explain briefly what hospice is and who you serve.
The hospice is the service of taking care of folks who have a terminal illness or a serious illness with a life expectancy of 6 months or less. Also within our program, we have palliative care who doesn't require all that. They just have to have something that needs to be managed, a disease or a symptom that needs to be managed, that we can handle that.
And most people, receive hospice care at their own home, but some can't. And so you have two beautiful hospice homes that are set up.
Correct.
One in Mount Airy and one in Yadkinville.
One in Dobson and one in
Dobson
Yadkinville.
and
We have the SCCU Hospice Care Center in Yadkinville and the Walt Hospice Home in Dobson. And you are correct, about 95 to 97% of our patients are seen in the homes.
Right.
Or wherever they call home. We've even served a patient under a bridge, Jim.
That's right, and the hospice homes are beautiful though. And let's talk about COVID-19 for a second. People are wondering if I have a loved one under, let's say, not so much receiving care at home, but let's say they're at one of the hospice homes.
Mm-hmm.
Can the family member or loved one come in and actually visit a hospice patient?
Yes, at first everyone put all these restrictions in place: no visitors in the nursing homes or nursing care centers, no visitors in the hospitals, and they've kind of restricted those, released those a little bit now. We too have released those, and so we allow 2 visitors per day. They can come and go. You can have 2 at a time. So, say if you and Pam wanted to go visit someone and then y'all left and 2 more come in, we would allow that, just 2 at a time. And we put some restrictions into place. There's screening and processes and things like that. You can get your temperature taken. We have a thing that you walk up and it just literally does it. And then as well as we let you enter and exit through the patient patios so you're not in the common areas of the building.
Let's say there's a lot of loved ones, it's a big family, or some of the family members live out of state or whatever. Is there a good system for me finding out information about a loved one who's there?
Yeah, normally you would call the other loved ones that are in the family if you can, but
Right.
that's not always possible. But if the family has given permission, because of that HIPAA stuff we have to all
Right,
comply
right.
with, you can call the hospice home and ask, and they can even transfer you to the patient's rooms. The patients all have phones in their rooms. You can leave messages in there. They can all take your people.
I want to remind folks that Mountain Valley Hospice and Palliative Care is a nonprofit agency, and because of that, you do fundraising. And
course.
so, how is that going with the whole virtual thing?
Well, COVID's kind of put a damper on that, like it has with any other nonprofit. But I'm glad to say that this Friday we're doing a fundraiser. We're having that porta pit chicken dinner that we usually do. We've not sold as much, but we're still excited that we can see folks. It's a drive up. You buy your ticket online and we drive up and give it to you in the car. So we got some volunteers helping with that. So it's going to be exciting.
You said volunteers. Before time runs out, I assume you still always need volunteers?
Always. Just as we care for loved ones and families want to give back, like the families cycle into hospice, the volunteers cycle into hospice as well. So we're always recruiting, always training, and then folks' lives change, and then they exit out and some other folks come in. So it's always happening. It's a wonderful place to build a relationship and meet new folks and just do great things.
I want to put this information up on screen for 2 reasons. One, for general information that you want to find out more about hospice and palliative care, mtnvalleyhospice.org. The general toll-free number is 888-789-2922. I said there's another reason for putting it up, because if you want to make a donation or if you want to volunteer, go to that website, make a call, and you can get more information on that as well. Sheila Jones, thanks for making the drive down to the garden,
Thank you. It's a beautiful place.
and thanks for all you do. We'll be right back today. And for anyone who has been diagnosed with cancer or a loved one who's been diagnosed with cancer, you know how important it is to get a second opinion. Well, that's not my opinion about second opinions, but it's the opinion of our special guest who has very strong opinions about this, and we're going to find out what they are. Next to me, Dr. Glenn Lesser with Medical Oncology and Hematology at Wake Forest Baptist Health. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
By way of Duke, Penn State, and Wake Forest, I don't know who you pull for in football, but
It's
kind of rough, isn't it?
it's an interesting Sunday.
If they play each other. Doc, why is it so important? Seriously, why is it so important to get a second opinion if you've been diagnosed with cancer?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of reasons why people typically will get a second opinion, and probably the most common is really just for affirmation that the path that their primary oncologist has chosen is the right one. Hearing it from somebody else in the field who can really look independently and say, yeah, what's been recommended seems like the most appropriate thing we know of for your particular situation. That peace of mind goes a long way. There's also an opportunity to see somebody who might be a specialist in their particular cancer. In the community in general, most oncologists see the whole spectrum of oncologic diseases. At larger cancer centers, where people often will come for a second opinion, you have the benefit of seeing subspecialists, people who really specialize in one form of cancer or one organ system
Right.
that might be affected, for instance, breast cancer. So they're really up to date on the cutting edge things from around the country in a way that somebody who really does a little bit of everything can't be.
Well, now, you actually started this Cancer Second Opinion program. It's not just something you're talking about in theory, but you made it its own program. I mean, why did you do that?
Right. So we formalized it in 2018, and the reason was to really create an environment that was conducive to not only allowing patients to quickly come in for second opinions, but to making that experience really a special one. Especially at a big cancer center, it's a scary place. It's hard to park. There's lots of traffic. There's lots of buildings. There's people running to and fro. And it's just not always the most welcoming place for somebody who's scared and
Right.
and sort
You're
of
already
vulnerable.
stressed out, so-
Right. And so we put together a program that really tried to overcome some of those things, to make the interactions between patients or their physicians and our center smoothless and seamless, to really facilitate with all sorts of travel accommodations and directions and the ability to kind of get through our system.
Do I need a referral?
You can actually self-refer, which is an important part of the program, or your physician, either your oncologist or your primary physician, can actually refer to the program.
I think you sent me an email a couple weeks ago, and it had a term called fast track in it, and it said it had something to do with how fast you can actually get an appointment. What's that all about?
Yeah, I haven't met a cancer patient yet who doesn't think appropriately that they need to be seen that day or the next day for their problem. It's a terrific diagnosis to have to deal with. Yet the system, of course, just doesn't work that well. We can't see everybody as quickly as they want to be seen. For this program, we've really set a pretty high bar of seeing patients quite quickly, certainly within a week, if at all possible. 10 days at the outset is what we're shooting for, so that we can actually get people in, let them be seen, let them get the information they need, and then start making decisions that might impact their treatment course. It's not perfect, but it's probably about as good as we can do in the current environment.
And to go along with the theme of the teamwork and people backstopping each other over there, the different disciplines, I think there's also one of the only hospitals that has a special cancer designation. Is that right?
Yeah, so Wake Forest is what's called a comprehensive cancer center. We've been comprehensive for upwards of 30 years now. So the National Cancer Institute really reviews and designates and oversees cancer centers through the country, and their highest designation is comprehensive. There are about 50 cancer centers that have that title, Comprehensive Cancer Center, around the country. And sort of by definition, that implies a couple things. It implies that they have a depth and breadth, both in the patient care and the kinds of patients they take care of, in the research, both in the laboratory and at the bedside, the clinical trials, and also in teaching and educating both our patients, their families, the future doctors and nurses and PAs that are going to take care of us as we age.
Well, I think it's a great program, and I want to put up on screen a website, and correct me if I get this wrong. It's wakehealth.edu/second opinion, and that's with a number 2 ND, second, not spell out second. And you'll see it up on screen, or call for an appointment. The general number, of course, 716-WAKE is an 888 number, but I just applaud you for what you all are doing to have this program. It's something that's been missing in a lot of people's lives, and now it's making a difference. Thanks, Doc.
Well, thank you so much. We couldn't be happier with the success and the interest in the program, and we hope to grow it.
All right. We'll be right back. Triad Today, always glad one of our good folks from UNCG can stop by, and she is in a new position. So we're going to talk about that position and what it means for a lot of kids in the area. Next to me, our good friend Mary Holderness, who is UNCG School of Nursing's health coordinator and educator for Moss Street Partnership School. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you,
Glad
and a
to
nurse
be
by
here.
trade.
Yes, in fact, I did my training at UNCG, both
Well,
in
why
public
not?
health and UNCG.
Yeah, why
so
not?
yes,
Yeah.
it's nice to be back
So
home.
you're a real nurse then,
I'm a
right?
real
That's
nurse
right.
and back home.
Now, yours is a newly created position. I know you're excited about it, but let's give just a few seconds of background in case somebody hasn't seen some of our previous segments where we did talk about Moss Street School. What is Moss Street Partnership School all about, and then what is your position going to entail?
Well, Moss Street Partnership School is a school. It's run by the School of Education at UNCG. It is addressing some of the low performing schools, and it was started by grant, money by grant,
Right.
and so they are working to infuse that school with great education and help those children get caught up.
I know you're doing some background information and research and getting ready to start later this month. But I'm wondering, how does it feel to you to start on something like this during a COVID-19 pandemic, as it were?
How could I be so lucky? I mean, really, trying to meet people, staff, and other people, it's that barrier of social distancing, and getting to know the children, of course, will be delayed because they won't be actually coming in the building.
Right.
But it's like any other business. We all have to be creative and do it in a different way, and because that's what we do, and that's what
Absolutely.
nurses do. That's what school nurses do.
Nurses do everything. I just love nurses. And but if you're doing remote learning and all the challenges we're going to have, at least for 9 weeks or so, how's it going to be important for you to get health education information to parents and kids during this time?
Well, like the beginning of any school year, anywhere, our first focus is to check for immunizations and health assessments to make sure that everybody's got current with what they need.
Right.
It's the North Carolina law, but it's also what we need to protect these children, and it's something we can do. We can't control a virus. We can't control who's wearing a mask, but that is something parents can do, and we can empower them to know where to go and the importance of that at this beginning time.
And of course, not only just to get a plug in for the School of Nursing, but in a practical sense, you're going to be involving nursing students in getting hands-on experience throughout the community. That's important too, right?
I already have had 4 fabulous nursing students join me that helped me assess all 300 records of the children.
Wow.
They did an outstanding job. It was a very tedious and daunting task, but that's the perk of this whole position, is the partnership and collaboration with the School of Nursing and having the students come, because they will see how a community affects children or any patient for that matter. When you're in a clinical setting and you give directives and medication, you really don't know what happens when
Right.
they go home. You don't know what their community and culture, how that and their family influences their lifestyle and their following that healthcare plan.
Good
And so,
experience for the
yes.
nursing students,
Yes.
beneficial to the kids. It's just
Yes.
great. I want to put up on screen the general website, the UNCG, so
Yes.
you can follow what's going on around campus as well, uncg.edu. I have about 10 seconds left, and we'll put you on the spot and ask you who or what led you to a career in nursing. 10 seconds.
Oh, in 10 seconds. Oh, I don't know. My grandmother was a nurse, so
Okay.
I was always around that, and
Good role model.
had that role model and that experience. And she worked in a city, and she also worked in a rural area. So I've done the same thing she has.
Isn't that great? Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
you're doing it.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
It's a privilege.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We'll be right back after this. Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable. A couple things I want to mention first. Hope you'll pick up your copy of Yes Weekly and enjoy the article I have in there. Also, we thank John Wisdom and his staff for continuing to let us camp out here at the Senior Botanical Garden. Their website is on screen. Hope you will visit. And a sad bit of news, actor John Saxon passed away last week. I mention him because he was on the show several years ago when he came to visit in Winston-Salem. Please Google him, if nothing else, and just see all the great films that he did. Great guy, John Saxon, age 83. Now to the roundtable. On my immediate right, but always the political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster journalist. Back behind him in social distance, Dr. Don Martin, among other things, is vice chair of the Forsyth County Commissioners, and rounding out the group, Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys, let's get right to it. Governor Cooper is still keeping all bars closed in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Meanwhile, he announced last week that restaurants would have to cut off the sale of alcohol at 11 p.m. Does this new curfew make any sense? Does it go too far or not far enough? Ogie.
Well, Jim, everybody knows that those COVID cooties come out at 11 o'clock, so I think it makes perfect sense.
It makes sense. Don Martin.
Well,
You want to say something else?
honestly, I think he's trying his best. That's not going to make any difference one way or another.
You don't think
you
it
got to
will?
close the bars. You got to.
Close the bars and the restaurants at 11 o'clock is okay with you.
Yeah.
Don.
Well, I think you're reducing the number of hours for a violation of social distancing and getting perhaps a little inebriated in the process. So probably reducing those number of hours is a good thing.
Mr. Granberry.
I think you're going to have to go extreme right now and close the bars. I just think that
Well, the bars are
outbreak-
closed, but they're saying if you're in a restaurant eating and it gets to be 11 o'clock, you can't have alcohol.
Well, I don't think you should be in a restaurant at 11 o'clock right now. I don't think you should be in restaurants at this point.
That's
I think
probably true.
it should be closed. I think this pandemic is getting worse.
So you want even the restaurants should
I
close?
do. I do.
Well, okay, that's a good point. Guys, with most schools now going to the Plan C, which is only remote learning, there has been just an upsurge of parents starting homeschools now. Given all that's going on, I want to ask you a question. Do you think homeschooling is better than remote learning? Ogie Overman.
Jim, I've never been a proponent of homeschooling. I just think the kids need that socialization. However, right now you can't have either. You can't have the socialization, but remote learning is the only way to go. It's
Okay,
the
Don
only way.
Martin.
Well, actually, I don't think there's a one best way, but I will say this. Young children need face-to-face learning, no question about it. And probably the best marriage is to have remote learning with the homeschool support to the things that are being presented. Let the parent reinforce those things that are being remotely shared.
Mr. Cranberry.
You guys are doing that based on the fact that we know that these parents actually can homeschool these kids. I mean, do they have the skill set to homeschool their kids? I think distant learning is the only option right now for our kids.
All right, last month, employees of a Publix supermarket in Winston-Salem were allowed to conduct a Black Lives Matter protest outside the store. The employer said, go ahead, that's fine outside the store. But then they moved the protest inside the store, and eventually they were fired. Under the circumstances, are you okay with the firing? Ogie.
Jim, I don't know the details. I'd rather not comment specifically. In general, I don't think they should be fired unless they did something really stupid once they got inside the store.
Don Martin.
Well, I think it's a competing issue, the balance between freedom of expression versus the public's right to inside the store to have a comfortable shopping environment. And I think probably Publix as a private employer, the comfortable shopping environment trumps the freedom of expression.
Mr. Granberry.
Well, I think if they're going to allow them to have a demonstration outside, and then when they come inside with the demonstration, they're going to fire them. I think those are two competing things that they're telling their employer. They're telling their employer, we want to support you, but not really support you. So I think they definitely shouldn't have been fired, but I also think that they should give clear boundaries around that. But it is freedom of speech.
Maybe put up a sign that says,
Absolutely.
please don't come inside with the protest or
Absolutely.
something. All right, the NAACP has gone to court to ban the use of touchscreen voting machines in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19. They're also uncomfortable with the mail-in ballot thing for various reasons, which joins with the same concern that a lot of disabled North Carolinians have, especially those who are blind, saying they don't like the mail-in ballot deal. With the paper ballots, they can at least get those in Braille. But my question is, should we just go back to in-person paper ballots totally? Ogie.
Well, not this year, Jim. I have no problem with paper ballots, but not this year. We can't. We've got to do a mail. We've got to.
Don.
Well, what's interesting is that in 2020, every election in this state, there must be a paper ballot record of that vote to offer
paper
auditing
record.
purposes. So yeah, so for example, even if you vote on a machine, it has to produce a paper ballot.
Right, but
And
I'm not filling that paper out, but there's a paper record.
Yes, but I will say this though, for all the disabilities, visually impaired, there's special equipment at every site. You stay in your car, you can remain socially distanced, fill it out, and turn it right back in.
Keith.
There are ways that people who have disabilities can vote. There's definitely no way that there can be a paper ballot this year. And with the federal government talking about mail-in ballots now, that is one way to disenfranchise a whole aspect of voters, and voter suppression is something that we cannot have, but will be used this year as a tactic, and I think we got to fight against that very strongly.
All right, very quickly, the Catholic Church got $1.4 billion in paycheck protection loans, while millions of small businesses were left out when the money ran out. In general, not picking on the Catholics, but in general, should churches get government loans and still be tax exempt? Quickly, Ogie.
I've been saying it for years, Jim. If they engage in partisan politics or take taxpayer money, they've got to be non-tax exempt.
Don.
I think any nonprofit was eligible, and I think churches are big employers, have a big impact on the economy, and I think they're eligible like any other nonprofit.
Keith.
I think that the Catholic Church is a $1 billion operation, and there are churches, many churches in minority communities that are not getting a penny. So I think if you're going to spread some money around the churches, go into these communities that need it and give them the money so that they can do work for the people who are absolutely in need of that services.
All right, we're really going to change topics here. Our final topic, scientists, and this is true, scientists have discovered that farmers who bury underpants in the soil will yield richer soil and better crops. Guys, would you eat vegetables that were grown with underpants in the soil? Ogie Overman.
I used to be an organic farmer, and I used horse manure for fertilizer, so underpants means
Wouldn't bother you.
What's the difference?
Don Martin.
Doesn't bother me either.
Doesn't bother you.
Doesn't bother me.
Keith, would you eat vegetables that have been grown in underwear soil?
I'm not only am I not eating vegetables that grown I'm not even eating vegetables with anybody who don't have on underwear. I don't want nothing to do with underwear, period.
You don't want anything to do with underwear.
Everything needs
I'm
to
not
be
sure what that
closed.
meant. I'm not sure what he meant by that.
No underwear. No.
That's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. 2 strip clubs in Winston-Salem are fighting in court to stay open because the governor's tried to keep them closed. Asked how the court case was going, one strip club owner said, well, now it falls into the judge's lap. See, they have, there's lap dances. There's
no lap dances during
lap
coronavirus.
dances, and for all of us here except for Keith, we're going to eat vegetables at Keith's house. I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next time.